Hi, everybody. It's Ezra Levant with Rebel News, and I arrived in Maui in the town of Lahaina last night, a little bit before midnight, and I just went to bed. It was so late Eastern time, but that means I got up early and I'm here for the sunrise. And I'm in a part of Lahaina that obviously was not burnt. In fact, it's been turned into a kind of, I'm not going to say refugee camp because there are no people here who are sleeping, but it's more like a first aid stop, a food bank. There's medics. There's even a pet area for pets that need help. And behind me, as you can see, that truck there, I actually noticed has battery chargers and a Starlink. So we have a Starlink that we brought with us from Canada, and I talked to some of the folks here. This area is well suited, but they suggested going to some other places. That's not the primary purpose here. I just thought we had something that might be useful. Let's see if they need it. They don't need it right here. Our journalists need it to file their stories. As you know, we're in Maui just asking basic questions. What happened? Is there anything we can learn? How are the authorities doing? What are the people saying? We've learned over the years that sometimes what the authorities say in official statements is different than what the ordinary people on the ground are feeling and experiencing and what they need. So I'm just waiting for my colleagues to get up. And Adam, it's about 5:45 in the morning here. And we're going to try and do very carefully because there is an enormous trauma that has happened here. They don't know how many bodies will be recovered. It's surely going to be in the hundreds. And for a community as small as Maui, that is such an enormous blow. And the remains will be difficult to identify because of the fire. In many ways, I hate to say it, but it reminds me of 9/11 in Ground Zero of the World Trade Center. Obviously, that was a terrorist attack. There was an enormous amount of evil and malice behind it. This was a natural tragedy. It may have been made worse by human error or bad decisions. For example, the decision not to issue the warning, not to ring the alarms, strange woke policies in regards to the equitable use of water. So it was certainly magnified, I think, by human error, but obviously it does not compare with the evil of 9/11. But in terms of community impact, that's how it feels right here. And I spoke to some folks, I don't want to put them on camera right now, and even though they personally are not injured, you can see their heart is wounded. A terrible thing has happened to their community. So we're going to do journalism here. Alexa and Lincoln have been on the ground for a day already. I just joined them to bring the Starlink. And I said to them, and I'm saying to myself, tread carefully, not just physically tread carefully, because obviously in the areas that are burnt, I'm in an area that was not burnt. Obviously the areas that were burnt, you have to be aware of the possibility of human remains. By the way, when I was coming to Lahaina last night, I went to a police checkpoint and they were not allowing people through. I convinced them to let us through, but there are many areas that they have locked down, and I don't think that the internet rumors are true, that it's because of censorship. I think it's because of the bodies that have not yet been properly attended to, and also, I mean, at nighttime, if you're not a resident, what is your purpose in some of these communities? So I'm not against these police roadblocks, and I genuinely do not believe that they're censorship. I think, again, to use the analogy, they controlled access to the areas on 9/11, making sure that there weren't busybodies, marauders, looters, or people who were there for untoward purposes. So that's just a little anecdote and observation on my part. I met some early morning risers. I mean, life does go on for the survivors of the wildfire. People in Maui like to fish. They fish in the ocean. And I spoke to a few people this morning. I said, how are you? They said, I'm doing fine. I mean, obviously their heart hurts for their community, but life does go on. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, whose first comments about Maui were bizarre. He said no comment when he was asked about it. And he refused to give comment for days. It was very strange. I mean, even just the most basic cursory thoughts and prayers comment, he wouldn't say. He just said no comment. I don't know if he was mentally weak at that moment. Joe Biden has a lot of seniors moments, as they say. Or if there was some other messaging. There's been some other politicians weighing in, so perhaps it would have been better if they said no comment also. A local politician talking about expropriating the land and using it for government purposes. frankly, that's straight out of the conspiracy theories online. I mean, that's just an atrocious thing to say. Maybe he was just blurting it out and hadn't thought it through. But the idea that someone would look at these fire torched areas and see a real estate opportunity really felt gross to me. And I'm not a Hawaiian. I can only imagine what some people thought. There have been great acts of charity. There have been people not just personally offering their own volunteer time, but wealthy people. I understand Jeffrey Bezos made a $100 million commitment. I just heard that actually from my Uber driver as he drove me in, so I have to verify that. But I'm here for the day, and I might extend for another day. My main purpose was to bring the Starlink for our reporters and see how they're doing. Alexa and Lincoln will be here for a few more days. They're going to be here for when the president arrives. I don't know how much access will be given to that, most likely none, but we'll be certainly here to report on what the locals think of the president's remarks. And, you know, the name of our website is The Truth About Maui, and our mission is simply to follow the facts wherever they lead. Yesterday, the head of emergency response resigned in disgrace. He made some excuse about health reasons. It wasn't that. He was the one who made some bizarre decisions during the fire not to warn people, not to sound the alarms. And I think resigning is not enough. I think he has to answer. And I think there needs to be a real after-action inquiry. What went wrong? I think it needs to be led by an independent person with the power to compel testimony. Or if not compel testimony, compel documents and subpoena people. I don't know what the legal processes would be here, but I think people deserve the right to know what happened and why it happened, what was uncontrollable in nature, what was, you know, a long time coming, where there's some approaches to agricultural management. I mean, in Canada, if forests are not maintained in a certain way, they become, you know, fuel for lightning fires or for arsons even. Was there a management process that was not in place? Were there mistakes made on the day? We'll try and answer those. I'm not sure how many answers we'll get in our short time here, but we'll do our best. You can chip into our crowdfunding to cover the economy class cost of our travel here at thetruthaboutmaui.com. And as you know, we're recommending to people to donate to the crowdfunding for the humanitarian relief, and our reporters have done that already. We donated to the Red Cross, but a lot of people have said there are better charities to give, and we're certainly open to that. I see Glenn Beck's Mercury One has raised nearly $1 million, and I know from experience that they're excellent. I know there's some other local Maui charities. We will have links to them on thetruthaboutmaui.com. That's my dawn report. Looks like the sun's rising. I'm going to try and find some coffee, and then we'll get to work. For Rebel News, this is Ezra Levant.